Tonight we're going to be talking about chords and how to change between them quickly. We've touched on this a little bit in the past, but changing between them, how to learn them, how to change between them, just the biggest problems that I see when folks come and they're wrestling with chord issues. These are the things that I see, and then we're going to talk about how to correct them. We're also going to be talking about and learning a little bit of the amazing song Dust in the Wind by Kansas. And I'll also touch a little bit on kind of the biggest roadblock I see when learning. So we're going to talk about that and how you can overcome that. There is no PDF that goes along with tonight, so you don't need to worry about that. But I wanted to start off with a song. We had all the kids over for Mother's Day, and one of the songs that came on while we were there was the song Easy to Love, which is an old jazz standard. It's written by Cole Porter back in 1937, from the musical Anything Goes, which me and my lovely wife have played. And so it just reminded me of that song, and in thinking of my lovely wife, who is very easy to love, I thought I would play this song. So here we go. This is Easy to Love by Cole Porter. talk about chords. Move my mic up here. Remember how we learned about mic placement? You aim it about the 15th fret, about 4 to 6 inches away. That'll get you a good strong sound. All right, so let's dive into making fast, clean chord changes on guitar. There's a couple things I want you to know. When you're learning a chord, you need to get the chord shape from your head underneath your fingers. That's the main idea. When we're trying to change chords fast enough, a lot of times the problem is not necessarily mechanical with your fingers. It's your brain telling your fingers where to go quick enough. So there's some steps that I can give you to help you with that. One of the things is you need to, of course, know the chord. I mean know it. Know exactly what chord you're supposed to be hitting, what the fingers are, where they're supposed to be. Not kind of know it, but know it, where you absolutely know. On the second string, I put my first finger here. On the first finger, I where all the strings are, where the notes need to be muted. What string is it? It's a 5th string chord? Is it a 6th string chord? What's happening on the right hand and what's happening on the left hand? This is important. As you get started out, a lot of times we just kind of half know something. Well, it's kind of like that. No, you're never going to learn anything that way. Slow it down. Learn exactly where your notes and fingers and what strings need to be. That's step one. Understand the shape of the chord underneath your fingers. Let's say I'm trying to play, I don't know, this is a rather complicated chord, a C major 9th. Okay, let's say this was my chord that I'm trying to learn. This is my challenging chord that I'm trying to learn. How would I need to do that? Well, it's using all 4 fingers, so it is going to be more challenging than just a 3-fingered chord like a C or even a 2-fingered chord. So it is going to be a little bit more challenging for that. So one of the things is I want you to understand the shape of the chord, how your fingers are approaching the fretboard. So we have to form the chord correctly. That's the first part. Form the chord as a shape, not as individual fingers. So when you're first learning it, of course, you go individual fingers, 1, 2, 3, 4, things like that. But as you want to try and speed this up, that's our goal, is to be able to do these quickly and effectively. I want to start forming the chord as a shape as it comes to the fretboard. Not as finger, 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 but as a shape. Even before my hand is coming there, it's starting to form the shape of the chord. Let's get a tight shot of my hand as it's coming up to the guitar. As it's getting closer, my hands are already starting to get in the shape of the chord. That's what I want you to understand. If I'm going to a G, as I'm coming to that G, I've got the shape of that G in my hand. I've got the shape of a C chord. I got a shape of a D chord. That's one key that will help you. Another thought is I want to be able to flow to this chord without having to always look at my hands. So you want to not look at your hands. Look when you're first learning to make sure you're in the right spot. But once you have got that, your goal is to get where you can form the chord without having to look at your hands. You don't always want to be looking. As soon as you're looking, that's going to slow you down. You may think you have to look, but actually get your hand familiar with being able to find the strings and find places it needs to be without having to look as a visual reference to it. So that's going to help you. Try not to look. A little game that you can play to form these chords correctly is get them correctly, and then we're going to slowly move our hand away. So I release the tension. That's step one. My fingers are still in the right place, but I've just released the tension. And then I just release the tension. Now I'm just going to take my fingers off of the fretboard. And I'm going to put them right back down. I'm not moving them far. I'm just taking them off the fretboard. Okay, so far that's not too complicated. The next step is I'm going to put my hand flat. Flat. I still am attached with my thumb back here, Not letting go of the neck just yet, but I'm just putting my hand flat and trying to always come back and form that chord correctly. So far, our stages have been form the chord correctly, release the pressure, don't take your fingers off, just release the pressure, and then take your fingers off just about 1/4 of an inch, put them back on. Now we want to make our hand flat, put it back. Next layer after that is to release the thumb back here. So I'm just going to go and release the thumb and back. Let's say I want to go to another chord. All of this is building in repetition and familiarity with my fingers on how to form the chord correctly. You can play little games where you can put, maybe form the chord, then maybe tap your leg. That's a good way to do it. See how many of those, but the idea is I always come back and I play the chord correctly. I don't want to kind of half play it or play the wrong string. Remember, there's 2 parts of it. I have to play the correct strings over here and the correct fingers over here. Now, let's talk about how you can speed up changing between 2 different chords. All right, so we're not going to go through a whole progression of 10 chords or anything like that. We're going to choose 2 chords. Let's say I wanted to go maybe from an A minor to my new chord. And I'm working on getting that chord change fast enough. All right, so what are some steps I can do for that? So if I had my little metronome, I've got my little metronome app here, which is Metro Timer. Let's move this down to like 70. Okay, so I'm going to hit the A minor, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4. I'm just holding each for 4 beats. And if this is too fast, then slow it down. 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4. Okay, hey, now let's go to 3 beats each. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Hey, let's just do 2 beats. 1. All right, ready, and 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. So what am I doing? I'm practicing jumping between 2 specific chords, and I'm slowly decreasing the amount of time I'm allowing myself. Steve, this is boring and so methodical with this. Yes, it is. Welcome. Let me be the first to welcome you to real guitar learning. So it takes time. It's not forever. Just spend 5 minutes on this. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 3 to 5 days out of the week, and you guarantee you will have that chord down by the end of the week, doing these dumb little things like that. So we play the chord for 4 beats, change the next chord for 4 beats, then we did 3 beats, then we did 2, and you just go back and forth, slowly raising up your BPM on your metronome. That's a little game that you can play that'll help jump between 2 chords. Another little game that I heard someone describe one time that I thought was helpful is, let's say you're picking, maybe going between this G minor 7th to maybe a C sharp diminished. See how many you can do within 60 seconds. Do them correctly. Okay, so that's 1 change. That's 2 changes. And see how many I can get done in 60 seconds. And then you try it again tomorrow and see if you can get a little bit more. That's a game that you can play. How many can you do within a minute? Another aspect to look at when you're trying to learn these chords is if there are anchor fingers involved. What do I mean by anchor fingers? Well, a lot of times, let's say between a C and an A minor, you'll notice that that first finger C doesn't have to move. So we would consider that, or call that in the biz, an anchor finger, because he doesn't have to move between the 2 changes. So it's not like I'm completely having to do a completely new chord. In some times, it's not in all cases, but in some cases, you'll have an anchor finger that is common between both chords. If so, just leave that one down. What if I did maybe a G5 to an E minor 7th, to a C2, to a D sus? Each one of those has a third and fourth finger that are planted on those last two strings. Not only will you get a good chord progression that sounds like it all fits together, I don't have to lift those two fingers. So the only thing changing is fingers 1 and 2. So if you can apply an anchor finger that is common between two progressions, then I would suggest you do that. That would help you go between these two chords faster. Let's talk about how you learn chords here just for a second. How do you learn a chord? Okay, well, here's the idea. You want to learn the chord correctly. Know exactly what the right fingering is. What strings are used, what strings are muted. Sometimes strings are muted out. Let's say I'm trying to learn this chord. This fifth string is muted. The problem that I see with a lot of players is that they kind of know the chord and they come up here and they, let's say they get these fingers right, but then they'll play the wrong strings down here. And they'll just play the bottom 4 strings, and they won't actually get the bass note right. Or they will get this right, but they won't have this right, and so they'll put this finger in the wrong spot. Don't let yourself get away with being sloppy like that. If you really want to learn, play it accurately. Learn what that chord is supposed to be. Does it start on the 5th string? Does it start on the 6th string? That's a big problem, is that folks are not quite sure which string with your picking hand that it starts on and should go toward. The thing that helps me is to write the chord out. Just write it out. I mean, I'll put it on a Post-it note. If I'm trying to learn a new chord, I will put it on a Post-it note. Not only does writing it out help me as a musician actually physically know the chord and what notes are supposed to be there and what fingers are supposed to use, but it's also a visual reminder. So it's good for me to write it down. That helps me to know the chord, but it's also good for me to look at it. I'll take that little Post-it note, I'll put it on my computer, so I'm just looking at that chord for the week as I'm learning that. Make it big so you understand. Here, I printed one out for you. Just make it big so you know what's going on. This is a rather complicated chord, an A2 with a C sharp and the bass. All right, wow, I've got my 4th finger here, got my 1st finger, 2nd finger there. There's no doubt of what I'm supposed to play. A lot of times when you're looking at these little chord blocks and the little dots and it's just hard to see. So write it out, big, huge. There's no doubt what that should be. And now I have to just practice playing it correctly. So there's a physical part of the problem, then there's a knowledge part of the problem. And a lot of times, we're just a little fuzzy on one or both of those. So the first thing is we need to know our target, know what the chord is. Second thing we talked about is write it out. And then take that and put it on your music stand. Number 3, practice forming the chord correctly, which gets back to our hand going back and forth from the instrument. So practice forming the chord correctly. Do it slow, play each note. If you're unsure, play each note to make sure you got each note. Don't just kind of whack them all and hope for the best. Sometimes that works, but if you really want to see where the problem is, or if maybe you're muting out something, I'm not quite sure what the problem is. It's my 4th string that's the problem. And you can tell that when you play them each individual note. So if you're learning a new chord, play each individual note. Make sure you're getting it up. Number 4, the last thing. This isn't the last thing. I got 2 more after that. Focus in smaller. A lot of times we'll try and learn, 10 chords. Don't learn 10 chords. Learn 1 chord. Learn 1 chord really well. And all the things that you can do with 1 chord. Let's say I'm trying to do this. If I learn 1 new chord a week, I'll have 52 chords by the end of the year. Most folks are, are happy if they learn 15, if they know 15 chords in a lifetime. Okay? Most guitar players are there. If you just learn a few, maybe one a week, go through this little process of 5 or 10 minutes each day for 5 days, you will have that chord in your repertoire after that. So focus in smaller. Don't do too much. Just have one chord a week. Here's another thing. Can I use different strings? Can I get other fingers to do different things while I'm in this chord? I'm also identifying, here's the root, here's the C in that C chord, here's the third. What is that note? Oh, well, that's a C, that's an E, that's a B. Go ahead and figure it out. B, that's a D. Can I move this chord around, this shape around? Does that give me some new possibilities? Not all of them are going to work, but some of them might. That D, using it up in D worked. That doesn't work. But doing it in E works. What about an F? A beautiful F major ninth there. Kind of a G6-9 there. G major 13th. What am I doing? I'm just moving this chord, this shape around. Is it a movable chord? Is it a chord that involves a bar? If there's no open strings, I can move it around. As long as I know what the root is. That's a C major ninth. That's a D flat major ninth. That's a D major ninth. So I'm establishing what notes are in that chord and how I can use that chord, how I can move it. Is there any other notes around there that I can use? Well, maybe if I take my first finger off, that gets a cool sound. What if I take my pinky off? What if I take my third finger off? What if I bar my first finger? I get a C major ninth with a flatted fifth. Learn what you can do with that one form. Learn one form really well and then move on from that. Number 5, repeat forming and playing the chord correctly over and over. Repetition is your friend. Don't just learn it once, put all this work in, and then never touch this chord again for another 2 weeks. You will lose it. You will completely forget everything that's going on. Just do it for 5 or 10 minutes, and then the next day, do it for 5 or 10 minutes, and you will have this chord down. You will be amazed at the progress you can get by moving slowly in 5 and 10 minute segments, but doing it consistently. Consistency is more important than big, huge blocks of time. I'm going to practice for 3 hours. No, you're not going to get anything done. Do 5 minutes before work for 3 to 5 days out of the week. Then you will learn something. But practicing 3 hours on a Sunday while you're watching the game is going to do you no good. You will have wasted time. You will end up farther along by practicing a total of 20, 30 minutes for the week working on these things. Consistency is going to help you remember these things more than just a big, huge block of time. All right. Last thing is learn how to use the chord. This is a major 7th chord. There's basically 3 different categories of chords: a major 7ths, minor 7ths, and then dominant 7ths. So a C, that would be major. C major 7th would be major 7th. C major 9th with a flatted 5th, that would be all in the major 7th. So if I had a C7, a C9, a C13th, a C11th, all that goes into the dominant 7th. This is basically 3 categories. So learn kind of where each chord fits in the categories. As far as making them quicker, do our little games of forming the chord correctly. Get your metronome on, count for 4 beats, and then do it for 3, for 2. As far as learning the chord, practice forming it correctly and then slowly getting off, moving your hand farther and farther away. All of that will help, no matter what chord you're trying to learn. If you're a beginner and you're just trying to kind of master an A minor, or whether you're a jazz player and you're trying to master an E flat major 13th, whatever. if it's a new chord, it's worth it. So many players just know a small handful of chords. You know, I did a series, gosh, it's probably 3 years ago now, the chords you need to know. It's on the playlist. Actually, the link is in the YouTube description down below. It's free. We did workshops on basic chords. We did workouts on basic chords. There's jazz chords. There's rock chords with you know, power chords and things like that. That whole series is up on YouTube. It's all free. There's a wonderful PDF that goes along with the whole thing. It is the most helpful thing. If you want to expand your chord knowledge, do that. It's free. Only thing it's needed is the work. And that's often where the battle becomes. It's not the information, but the work. So a little bit each day, it will help you solve all of that. Let me just recommend a few things. First thing is that Chords You Need to Know series. We just talked about it. The link is in the YouTube description down below. It's all free. Learn all you can. I wish I had somebody when I was a kid hand me 4 pages of chords and say, this is the majority of the chords you're going to play for your entire professional life. That's what that course does. So it's all free. Take it on there. Our Fall Fingerstyle Guitar Retreat is coming up on October 23rd through 26th. We only have 8 slots left. We had several people sign up this week, so we've gone down from 11 slots to, I think, 8. We currently have 8 slots left to hear our Fall Fingerstyle Retreat with Clive Carroll, brilliant fingerstyle guitarist from Europe. Gareth Pearson, who's been opening up for Tommy Manuel, one of our favorite friends. Another one is the reigning fingerstyle champion, Stephen Bennett. We just have 3 heavy hitters this time for the Fall Fingerstyle Retreat. If you're interested, check it out. You can go to fingerstyleretreat.com, get all the information there. Oh, if you want to learn more chords than just the basic chords, let me also recommend it. We have our Money Chords series. I believe the link is in the YouTube description down below too. That is a fretboard workout series, so I think it's like $30, and you get 3 workouts where I'm actually teaching you the chords, and then we're giving a workout where you're working through it together. And I think there's a live band. We do it as well. It's a great series. If you're interested in really kicking up your chord playing, that's the thing to consider as well. I did do a whole series, again, probably 3 or 4 years ago when we were covering this, on inversions. And we did major inversions and minor inversions and all this sort of stuff. So we did things like, you know, on a C chord. Here's the C chord. Everybody would say, oh, C chord. Well, I can do inversions of that C chord. All of those are C chords. Here's another one. And in these inversions, these closed inversions that are tight, or these open inversions that are larger than an octave, large inversions like that. Those are open inversions there. We talk about all of those. And I use them all the time. I use inversions all the time. You know, a little exercise I've been doing a lot lately is this. So I'm basically playing a 10th. I'm in the key of C, and I add this little 4th string note, and I have it keep the open G in between there. And then I'll do the D minor, keeping that G in there. Using triads and open inversions like that. Jacqueline is saying, any suggestions on bar chords? I can make the shapes but can't play them for more than 5 minutes. That's a hand strength issue. We did a whole series on this. Again, look at the playlists. A whole free series on bar chords and how to form bar chords and how to do little exercises on increasing your hand strength We do little exercises like this if I'm working on a A minor or something. I'm going to hold it for 3 strings. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Then I'll go down a half step. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Do that up and down. Then I'll do 4 strings. I'm holding this, holding it. Then I'll do 5, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3. Then I'll do 6. Most of the problem you're going to find out with bar chords is hand strength issues, and fatigue, as Jaglal was mentioning, is a common problem with that. Fatigue is something you can get better at, and it's just strength. And there are things that I have to do that are like my daily personal development exercises, is what I say. So I do these every day. Not whether I feel like it or stuff like that. It's just stuff I have to do every day. Hammer-ons and pull-offs. So I have the hand strength needed to do, comes bar chords is another one. If I don't do bar chords for a couple of weeks, I'll start to lose that muscle there, but it's an important muscle to have. Also make sure that your instrument is properly set up and that the finger, the string height is not so high that it is hard for your fingers to push down. That's another thing to help you. Next week, we are going to have, this is a great one. You guys have not met him yet, but this is one of the better live lessons that we have had in a long time. His name is Scott Bernard. Scott Bernard was the long time, like 20 years, lead guitarist for Kenny Loggins. So if you ever saw Kenny Loggins on any show anywhere, whether it be Good Morning America or some Las Vegas run, or he was filling an arena in your town, the guitar player that was playing with him was Scott Bernard. Kenny Loggins has since retired, and so Scott is now playing lead guitar for Kansas. So he is on the road touring with Kansas now. And so he's going to be on our show next week. So stay tuned. Next week we're going to be back at Groon Guitars with a great player, amazing player, Scott Bernard. And one of the things we're going to jam on is the song Dust in the Wind. So I thought it might be fun for us to kind of learn a little bit of Dust in the Wind. And again, this PDF and all the song lesson is in the YouTube description down below. I just kind of want to build that little finger pattern for you real quick. Starts out with just C's. I'm going to have a little C chord formed over here, and I'm just going to hit the C's with my thumb, 5th string. Then I'm going to alternate between the C and the E. Still all with my thumb. Then with my 2nd finger, I'm going to add the high C. So get that going first. Then I'm going to add another note. I'm going to add a G to it. Now I'm going to add one note after that, and this is the complete pattern. So all I'm using is my thumb and my middle finger. All right, now I'm just going to start changing the melody note around. If you're interested in learning that, the full lesson is down below. It's all free. You've got the tab on it, all of that sort of stuff. It's a fun little song. We're going to be playing it next week with Scott Bernard, the one who actually does it with Kansas. So it's going to be an exciting time there. Thank you to everybody that's giving. I hope you guys are enjoying learning all of this stuff today. I thought that would be helpful. Before we close out, I wanted to talk to you about one more important thing. The biggest obstacle to your learning. The biggest obstacle to your learning. You ready? There's one thing, I'm going to read it here because I had written it down and it came out so well. There is one thing that will totally derail your learning. It will destroy any progress that you hope to have. In fact, if you don't learn how to deal with this problem, it will degrade your playing so much that eventually it will leave you with barely any of the skill that you've worked so hard to attain. So this is a very important thing. I would say arguably the most important obstacle and something that you need to wrestle with if you want to actually learn how to play guitar. You ready? Here it is. The problem for most people, I would say the vast majority of people, is not a knowledge problem. The problem is that you just don't have your guitar in your hands enough. You need to have your guitar in your hands every day. I'm not saying you need to practice for 5 hours. I'm not saying any of that sort of stuff. I'm saying before each day, try and get your guitar in your hands. If you did that and nothing else, just put your guitar in your hands each day, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever you can. You will keep your skill, attain better skill, and you will be moving along in this river of learning. But if you try and work so hard, and I've seen players all the time come in and they stress so hard about the informational part of the problem, and then we actually get down to how much is your guitar in your hands, and they think, I play a little bit on the weekend. You're not going to do it. 3 hours on the weekend, it's better if you can do 5 minutes or 10 minutes each day. You'll get more done in less time than if you did a whole big block of time at the weekend where you've already forgot everything that you tried to learn. So the biggest obstacle in your learning is just physically getting your guitar in your hands each day. Just put it in your hands. Oh, I don't even know what to work with. Steve, what should my practice routine be? I don't care. We can solve all of that sort of stuff later. The biggest hurdle is going to be getting your guitar in your hands each day. 5 minutes, I don't care. That you'll find if you just do that and nothing more, you will learn and progress as a musician so much better than all of the wishing, all the hopes, all of the watching YouTube videos of fancy guys play guitar and going, oh, I wish I could do that. Just turn that off and pick up your guitar. That is the biggest obstacle, is physically getting your guitar in your hands each day. If you can do that and try and do something new when you get your guitar in your hand, you'll be set. You'll be set. That's the biggest hurdle. Hey, our next live lesson will be next week, May 20th, with Scott Bernard from Kenny Loggins, and he's currently the guitarist for Kansas. So, and a great guy. And you guys are going to love him. I'm so thrilled that y'all get to meet him. That will be next week. And he will be telling us all about being on the road and the gear that he uses and the technique and all that sort of stuff, and we'll even touch a little bit of Dust in the Wind there. Okay, I think that's about it. If you haven't already subscribed to our YouTube channel, take a second to do that. That helps YouTube kind of know that we have some an audience there. It's a joy doing this for you. Thank you to everybody that has given, either here and on PayPal. This was I hope you guys learned some things with how to learn chords and how to attack them better. The main thing is that you learn how to learn. If you can master that, the world is your oyster. But if you struggle on just how do I learn this new knowledge, these are some tips that will help there. All right, so I don't know what I'm going to play, but let me just kind of noodle around and I'll play us out here with something. There you go. Keep up the great work in your own learning. Hey, I'm Steve Krenz for Guitar Gathering. We will see you guys next time.